Hi everyone, my name is Yele of Yele Stitches, and Yele is a female fashion brand that makes female accessories and clothing. Today I'm going to be showing you how I made this darling corset. Feel my corset with the zipper at the back. I know I promised you that I was going to show you the stitching of it this week because I did the cutting last week. So if you have not seen the video of the cutting, please check here or here, one of the two places, for suggestion on how to cut your corset. And today I'm going to show you how to stitch the corset. Let's go there. The first thing that we need to do is to get our fleece interface. That this fleece interface is just to give our bra cup some foaming. You can also use a bra foam instead. I'm going to link the two in the description below for the interface and also for the bra foam. Now, after lining my bra cups with it, I'm going to sew those two pieces together to create a nice cup. I'm doing it for the left side and also do it for the right side. Look at it. Oh, it's already forming. Okay, yeah, so I'm going to take the third piece that is on top of it and I'm going to sew that also together, and then you have your nice bra cups. I did it for the other side. Now I'm going to sew my middle panel and my side panel together. I'm showing you how I'm assembling it. So you sew the middle panel, the side panel together on both sides. After doing that, you align the lines of your you align the lines of your bra cup to the sewing of the middle panel and side panel. Like, the lines should align, you get what I'm saying? And then I sew the bra cups inside the curve of those two joinings. As you're seeing me do, I believe that it is quite explanatory. You can see it is looking so chom chom and beautiful already. I like chom chom. I don't know why I like to say the word chom chom. Anyways, so after doing that, I'm going to sew the back panels together. You can always leave your patterns so you don't mix up patterns together. So I'm sewing the back panels to my front panels with my seam allowance of 1 inch, or whatever inches you use for your seam allowance is fine. You can use 1 to 1.5 inches, depends on you. Now we're talking about boning. You can either use the spiral boning or the iron boning, the first one, or you use the plastic boning. I prefer the spiral boning, but I don't have much of that, so I'm going to use my plastic boning like that. Both of them will work either ways. The spiral boning is just way more flexible than the plastic boning. So you're going to put boning on all the seams. If you want that corset to corset, you put boning on all the seams. And then I'm putting the boning at the back seam, and you see the way I'm trying to put it, but the middle one doesn't have a seam, so I'm going to use something called the boning casing. So right now I'm boning my plastic boning because I don't want it to like poke through my fabric. So the boning is just to smoothen the edges of my plastic boning, and then I'm going to sew it. Make sure that your boning is at least 0.5 inches shorter than the length of your fabric, because you don't want it poking the underside of the fabric. You want to be able to easily turn your fabric when you line it. All right, so I'm putting boning on all of the seams. Remember, 0.5 inches shorter. And then this is me putting boning in the casing. Now look at the way that the boning is. You want to make sure that the curvy side is facing outwards. That is, you want it to curve outwards so that it's flat against your waist and every part. You see the way the curve goes in and out. So that's how you want to put your boning. Make sure that all the bonings you are putting in the curvy side is facing outward. That's what gives it that nice tiny waist illusion. So please do not forget that. Make sure that your curves are facing outward. So I'm putting bonings on all the same. You saw me talking to my intern. Yes, I was trying to show her how to sew together the lining. Don't worry, you will get there soon. All right, so for this for the bra cups, I'm going to put the same boning casing round about the bra cup, very close to the seam. It doesn't show on the other side, it is close to the seam. You're just going to sew around the seam of your bra cup. You see the way I'm doing it? Okay, so you're just going to sew around the seam of your bra cups, and then you should use something called the underwire casing. I'm using the boning casing because I don't have underwire casing. Don't mind me, I'm a bushwoman, but I made it work. But the underwire casing is so much better, and your underwire will rest better with the underwire casing instead of this one. So get the underwire casing, don't use my boning casing like a bushwoman that I am. All right, so I just stitch the edges so that that side is closed. So the side, one side is closed and one side is open. The open side is where you're going to pass your elastic, your underwire through. Okay, so I'm cutting the excess on the wire and then I'm going to fold it in. Now this next seam is going to show on the outside. I'm going to fold it in and then I'm going to sew right around the right around the bra cups. You don't really have to do this stage, but I've seen it done a couple of times and I think it has a nice effect. So what I'm just doing is sewing down the underwire casing that I put inside, but sewing it to my fabric. Like I said, you don't have to do this stage. If you don't like top stitching, you shouldn't bother to do this. I personally don't like it, but I've seen it done a couple of times and I feel some people will like it. Okay, so now we have our underwire, which is going from short to tall, and I'm going to pass it into my bra cups. You know, there is the shorter part. The shorter part is the part that is going to be closer to the middle of the breast, and the longer part is going to be on the other side, because one side of your breast is fuller than the other side. So the fuller part has the longer side of the underwire. And I know you're seeing my interns, and that is our busy working on the lining of the corset. All right, so now my intern has finally finished the lining of the corset and it looks so beautiful. So it's just the same process as what I did on the front part, without the bonings and without the underwire, just simple joining of everything together. She did a great job. Like, applause for my intern, yay. Okay, so I'm putting the lining to the main fabric now so that everything is going to be aligned when I sew them together. And after pinning in, I'm just going to sew the top. I'm going to sew the top. I'm going to leave about 1 inch for my zipper. 1 inch. I'm not going to sew everything, just 1 inch from my zipper before I start sewing all the way to the other side. And I'm also going to leave 1 inch at the other side for my zipper on the side. Don't worry, I'm sure that you're going to see the reason why there is a 1 inch space by the time we finish this tutorial. So I'm going to leave 1 inch at the other side also, and I'm going to do the same thing for the under. Yeah, I know you just saw me not put 1 inch on that side, right? Yes, I forgot to do that, my bad. But normally I'm supposed to put 1 inch on this side. So I'm opening it up and sewing everything down. I opened it up, sewed it down. Make sure that all the seams are collected on the other side of your seam allowance. You understand what I'm saying? It's like I'm sewing all the seams together so that everything will go towards the lining. You understand? So all the seam will go towards the lining. So that's just me top stitching the seams down so that all the seams will go towards the lining, and so that they will not poke on that. Like, I don't know how to explain it very well, but just do as I do. You get what I'm saying? Do as I do. All right, so after top stitching that side, I'm going to just fold everything. Look at it, like the top stitching makes the lining to stay better on the other side and not poke under the corset. If you get my meaning, you understand? If you get my meaning. All right, so I'm going to do the underside. I'm going to fold it and also repeat the same thing for the underside of my corset. Don't forget to leave your 1 inch also down there for your zipper. And I'm pinning everything down also because we want everything to align. You can do James Bond and not bother to pin it down, but I know myself, if I don't pin it down, I can just go and decide to do something else. But pin it down and do what you're supposed to do. All right, so I'm going to sew the down part, leave 1 inch on either side of the sewing before I start my sewing, the same way I did for the upper parts. I hope you get me. Like I always say, if you have any question, don't forget to put it in the comment section. Let your girl know what she needs to know, or ask your girl the question that you want to know. Either ways, one of us is knowing. All right, so you saw that I left the 1 inch seam allowance on the other side too, so I'm turning it inside out now to show you the beautiful corset that we are making. Like, it's already forming and it's already looking very delicious already. Like, if this was a food, it would be like a 10 course meal, just saying. All right, so this is me turning it inside out, and it's looking all nice. Look at the way it's rough there. It's because I did not iron it each step of the way. Please don't be like me. Iron everything each step of the way. Iron the cups, iron the everything. Don't be like me. All those tension that is there, I don't like the tension, but it is the way it is. So next, so don't, like I said, don't be like me. Iron it, iron and iron and iron. So I try to iron out everything before putting my zipper. Maybe it looks better or maybe not. Maybe it's all in my head that it looks better, but I think it looks better. So now I just pinned my zipper down. I use this short zipper. I'm going to put it in the description too. It's not as short as it is. I had to cut it out. It was very painful to cut my zipper, but I did. So you're going to put your zipper on that 1 inch at the edge of your fabric without the lining, just the fabric alone. You're going to sew the zipper down. This is because you want a neat effect. Don't worry, you will see how this effect will turn out by the time we finish, doing our corset. You will see how the effect will be so beautiful. All right, so you're going to just sew down only on the fabric on one side, and repeat that for the other side too. You're going to sew only on the fabric. So this is the zipper only on one fabric, no satin, just on the fabric. And I'm going to repeat that for the other side as well. Now, after doing that, I'm going to fold it in. Like, I'm going to fold it the wrong side out, like bring out my wrong side, and then sew the top of my zipper, and then sew down the side of my zipper as much as my lining will allow me to do. And do you see what I did? Like, I folded it in, then I'm just sewing the rough side together as much as my lining will allow me, then I turn it back inside out. So you see that my lining could allow me to sew about halfway, and then the remaining half I'm going to do something called a blind hem. I'm going to stitch it with needle and thread and blind hem stitch it. I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that as well. So you need your thread, you tie your knots, a double thread if possible, so that it's going to stay well and stay for long. So I'm going to put my needle first into my satin lining or whatever lining that you use. This blind hem stitch works for everything: zipper, collars, whatever it is you want to do to give a nice finishing without top stitching. So I go into my zipper side. Yeah, my thread was collapsing and uncollapsing. I don't understand what was wrong with it. Probably village people, but we shall overcome. All right, so I'm going to take out the thread and put it again into my satin. Just take a little bit of my satin, bring out my thread, take a little bit of my zipper side also, take a little bit of my zipper side. Yes, you see that. Bring out my thread again. So this is what is called a blind stitch, in such a way that the stitch will not show on the outside. Look at it. Do you see what I'm doing? So I'm just taking a little bit of the satin, bring it out, and then take a little bit of the zipper side and bring it out. If you want to do a blind hem stitch for whatever it is, this is what you're going to do to achieve that. Do you see the blind hem stitch? Do you see how it is neat? It is very neat. It's not even showing that I did not use sewing machine to do it. So I'm just going to repeat that to the end of my zipper and I'm going to do it for both sides. I finished and I'm notching my thread, and you can see that it is very neat on that side, and I'm going to just repeat it for the other side. So I have finished doing that. My zipper is looking fine, my corset is looking fine. Don't forget, don't be like me, please iron every step of the way. Do you see that? Thank you so very much for watching. That's the end of the tutorial. Peace out, have a nice night, bye.